When I was much younger, way before I was involved with law enforcement, I had this idea. I wanted to be an artist. And this was New York. I lived in a 5th floor walk-up, tiny studio, and I'm trying to be a painter. So I'd wait tables during the day, and I'd stay up late doing watercolors. I'd stay up until 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And that was how I noticed that I had this neighbor. I'd hear his alarm go off at 3:30, and he'd say, "Not again." Then at exactly 4:15, I'd hear his door open, and he would descend down the stairs. But I never saw him. One night, I couldn't stand it anymore. I wanted to see this guy, so at exactly 4:15, I heard him fumble with his lock, and I crept to my own front door. The door had this big peephole, about this big, that was covered with a metal plate that you had to slide away to look through. I turned off my own light, slid the plate aside, and pressed my eye up against the peephole. And I screamed. An involuntary scream that comes out like that. A real scream. It's very different. It's not like a movie scream. It's like, "Ah!" So I scream, and I fall back against the bathroom door. Huge commotion as I hit the ground. Because what had happened was, I slid that little plate aside to look out, and I saw an eye. He was looking in at me. I'm on the floor, and I just freeze. Finally, from the other side of the door, I heard the sound of the guy picking up his keys and then start down the stairs. Now I had to see what he looked like. I picked myself up, pressed myself against the door, and once again looked through. There's that eye again! It's mine. It's the reflection of my own eye. I realized it just in time to see this freaked out postman heading down the stairs. That was the most scared I've ever been, and it was just me scaring me. The only other time I've heard that scream, what a real scream sounds like, was that night, when I heard 241 people make it all at once. I told that story to Candelaria, and she said, "You're missing part of the lesson. There's more than one thing that scared you." It was mostly about being startled. What was the first thing you did? Flicked off the light switch. People are naturally scared of the dark.
When I was 8, we lived in a house in Dunbar, North Carolina that was just about a quarter of a mile from Kendall Avenue, the main shopping street. It was a tall house, and from my bedroom on the 4th floor... keep going. Okay. It was a tall house, and from my bedroom on the 4th floor, I could see a billboard. It was an ad for Diet Coke. In the picture, 2 guys and a girl were clowning around, but exaggerated. They were posing for each other. I love that billboard. To me, it was a picture of infinity. Oh, models. Acting like people. Acting like models. It was the first time I encountered recursion. Something that bends back into itself, that refers to itself, and so becomes a loop. My name is Candelaria Ortiz. When the incident at the Oak Box happened, they were trying to understand it from every angle. Criminal, psychological, biological, and philosophical. That's why they brought me in.
We have this. I have this picture. We were on our way to church, and everyone looked so nice that I lined us up with a timer, and I took one. Me with my arms squeezing all 3 of them. Before I could take another, I looked and it was a miracle shot. It was like the Hail Mary from Prom 2 photos. So I had it printed out, 8 by 10, and framed it. That frame, though, the cardboard like that balances it, and so it was leaned against the wall on top of the cabinet. That night, the 3 kids went off to the play, and I saw that it had slipped. So I picked it up and leaned it against the wall. So, in that one moment of grace, as they walked out that door, I looked at that picture.
Medichap isn't a town anyone outside Amador County's ever heard of, but everyone's...
Terribly. Sorry, Brian.
Everyone.
Grandma. No, I'm at a show. No, tonight.
Everyone's surprised by how pretty it is. Once you get off 234, it's all rolling hills and green. pretty much everyone's job has something to do with parsley farming, and people don't think about it, but yes, there are parsley farms. Big ones. Not a lot of people move here, but not a lot of people leave. They like it because it's peaceful. And safe.
My wife had pink eye, so I was going to pick up our friend Harlan. And when I got there, he said, "You're just in time. The kitchen sink's a disaster." I'm a contractor, not a plumber, but I said okay. After 5 minutes, I said it's going to be the clog or the show. "You okay blowing off the show?" He said, "Sure. We can grab a drink." I said, "Okay, but we're going to pretend we went to the show."
So I'm brand new to this job. I mean, it's my 4th day ever as a detective, and I really want to do a good job, but I can already tell that I'm not, and it's stupid things. Being new in a place gets in your way in ways you don't expect. Why are there 2 conference rooms with the same name? The fax machine. Do you press 9? Do you not press 9? And people are not... Just edit this out, please. People are not as nice to me as I would be in their situation. And I can't even tell where the paper goes in this fax machine.
It was a printer.
So for the most part, I'm thinking, how could things get worse? And the whole incident starts, and things get worse and worse and worse.
Me and Mary Riggle were sitting on the ridge under the oak box just talking of the world, and suddenly there was this crazy loud sound. It's mwah. It sounded like it came from the oak box, and Mary said it must be part of the play.
I'm a forensic engineer. If a bridge collapses or a dam gives way or people get trapped in a fire, it's my job to figure out what went wrong. Some of the cases are famous. The Hartford Circus Fire in 1944 killed 168 people. The Great White Fire in 2003 killed 100. One of the things you pay attention to is what happened to the doors. There was a fire, a famous fire in Chicago in 1903, the Iroquois Fire. It was right after Christmas, so the kids were out of school and the whole theater was full of families. All 3 levels and even standing room on the 2nd. The curtain caught on fire, and what happened was the first people to reach the doors realized half a second too late that the doors opened in. The people behind them were panicked and crowded them, and they couldn't get the door open because they were pressed with the hinges going the wrong way. When you look at a door that's trapped people, you'll find scuff marks halfway up the door because the impulse is to kick. If there's more time, you'll find dents, sometimes big ones where someone got a fire extinguisher or a dresser, something heavy. But the incident at the oak box, I'd never seen anything like it before. You looked at those doors and you just thought, what the hell?
I get home, and my wife runs out the door, and she throws her arms around me. And I have no idea what's going on, but it's clear that I shouldn't say, "Oh, we were at the play and then we got a drink." And she says, "Look at the news." And I'm expecting Channel 2, but she turns on CNN.
I wasn't surprised that they found me. But I was surprised that they thought to look. My name is Ricky Hockmaker. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Minnesota. I study fear.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Is it life-threatening?
Yes.
Are you safe right now?
No.
I'm sending someone. More than one. There's cars already on the way. What's your name, Chico?
Angela.
Angela, I'm sending him to the Oak Box. Is that right?
Yes.
And there's a play tonight. High school's doing a play. Is that where you are?
Yes.
In the theater.
Yes.
And somebody's hurt?
Everybody.
Who's that again? Where are you in the theater?
I'm just standing on the stage.
Take a very, very deep breath. Hold it.
None of it made any sense. All of a sudden, this tiny town was the site of a tragedy that nobody's ever seen or heard of. 241 audience members fall unconscious while watching a high school play that the program tells us is called Trap. We only have a few events for the timeline. We know that people are fine at 11 after 8 because that's when the usher texts her older brother to come pick her up after the show. Then she goes back into the theater and turns off her phone. At 9:10, 2 kids on a ridge below the theater hear what they think is a foghorn, but they assume it's just part of the play. At 9:22, we get the 911 call. A girl named Angela Lore, who it turns out is the only one still conscious. When we get her out of there, she won't talk. She either doesn't know what happened or is too scared to say it.
The Oak Box was international news.
I was hiking near the hills of Clovis, New Zealand when I heard about it. People falling unconscious in a theater. That was key. I had conflicting thoughts. At first I thought, how horrible. And then I thought, there it is. There's our proof.
I didn't hear about it until the next day when it was on every station, and I got that weird feeling you get when you see something on TV right in your hometown. The Oak Box? Again? It can't be a coincidence. And everyone's like, it's been 76 years. And I'm like, I don't care if it's been 76 years. One theater, two tragedies. There's gotta be a connection.
Manitowoc Herald, March 19, 1946. Bond measure 2A. Funding to build the new Palace Theater on Semper Bluff passes with 54% of the vote. Mayor Roger Wegman says, we're going to use this funding to construct a building that's going to attract people to Manitowoc from all across the country. Search for an architect is set to begin immediately.
From architect Brian Hillock's winning bid for the Manitowoc Theatre project. Theatres have soaring spaces, fly spaces, where the scenery can be pulled up and out of view. My plan extends the metaphor of flights throughout the building. At the sides, half arches will rise like wings, lit from within. My hope is that the building will be known far and wide as the Manitowoc Angel.
Manitowoc Herald, April 1st, 1947. Ground was broken today at the Manitowoc Angel, our city's 700-seat theater. Mayor Roger Wegman overturned the first ceremonial shovels of earth and declared that the new theater would be not only a boon to our economies, but even more so to our spirits.
Letter from Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, April 3rd, 1947. My dear sister, I miss you, and there's no one anywhere in Manitowoc I can tell this to. I'm disgusted with myself. I had Jonathan all to myself for 3 hours and said nothing. We had dinner at Chauncey's Cream Room, but it was somber. Jonathan's been so quiet ever since Pat moved to San Francisco. Why do men have so few friends? He didn't talk, and I couldn't think of anything to talk about other than the question. I simply wasn't brave enough to ask it.
Manitowoc Herald, April 4th, 1947. 3 days in, construction halted on the Manitowoc Civic Theater. According to Foster Willingham, chief engineer, synoptic has touchstone that the Semper Bluff is supposed to fit the previously did. Our plans call for construction of underground as well as big machinery. This delay will be a 3 weeks at most.
Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, May 25th, 1947. He said yes! Adelaide, I can't tell you how happy I am. Saturday night, we walked up on the bluff, we stared at the lights in the ships, and when he looked away, I bent down on one knee. He said, what are you doing? I said, what does it look like I'm doing? That's not how it's done. Jonathan, we're going to be married for at least 50 years. No one has to know how it began. Adelaide, I feel lit from within, electrified. But this time I promise. Not in a bad way. I must rush off. The Crowleys are coming over. I have to buy another sofa.
Manitowoc Herald, May 31st, 1947. Local boy vanishes. 10-year-old Marcus Tumble was reported missing Tuesday night by his parents after disappearing during a family picnic. He was playing hide and seek with his cousins, said his father, Guillermo. Then they went to play on the beach below Sucker Bluff, and he didn't come back. Marcus is 5 feet 2 inches tall and was wearing white shorts and a long black sweater. He's missing a front tooth.
Letter from Norman Pike to Adelaide Pike, June 2nd, 1947. My apologies for not being clear on the topic of the Crowleys and the sofa. Last week I was certain Jonathan would rebuff my proposal. It drove me positively frenzied. The morning before I proposed, I was alone in the house, and I banged my shoe against the south wall of the living room as hard as I could. I did it again and again and again, until I was calm. The sofa arrived just in time, and I was able to blame the dents in the wall on the movers.
Manitowoc Herald, June 5th, 1947. Yesterday, by a vote of 5 to 4, the Board of Supervisors authorized new blueprints for the Civic Theater. According to Supervisor Zed Orenthal, we had no choice given our updated understanding of the geology of the bluff. We've had to abandon the idea of wings.
Norma Pike to Adelaide Pike, June 5th, 1947. Dear sister, every moment of every day is the happiest time of my life. The only shadow is so easy to tip Jonathan into silence. He was so quiet after that comment I made about the kilt he was wearing to the Scotch Festival. And yesterday I said, darling, please don't misconstrue this, but I'm glad your business failed. Finally, you're all mine.
Los Angeles Times, September 2nd, 1947. For the first time in history, the residents of the placid farm community of Menachep, California are locking their doors. The disappearance of 10-year-old Marcus Tumble has unsettled this community an hour and a half north of Santa Barbara. Marcus disappeared while at a family reunion beneath an area called Center Bluff. The residents are looking at each other warily after this frightening news. Marcus's mother, Thea, finds it suspicious he should go missing the day of the Scotch Festival. All those men we've never seen before, walking all over town wearing dresses. The police say there's no evidence, but I don't need it.
Menachep Herald, September 24th, 1947. A man arrested in Marcus Tumble case. Police on Thursday announced that they've taken into custody a suspect in the case of the missing 10-year-old, Marcus Tumble. The man in custody is a 33-year-old.
Jonathan! September 24th. Adelaide, they put Jonathan in jail. It's unbelievable. They're saying he had something to do with that boy who went missing. It's ridiculous. They won't even say why they suspect him.
Letter from Dan Vermain, Esquire to Samson Bonnet, Esquire. The trial proceeds well. On the stand, Miss Tumble pointed to a scratch on the float ring that had been in Mr. Mullis' furnished room. She positively identified it as the float ring that had belonged to her son. She impeaches herself as a character witness. She would be desperate to testify on her behalf.
Transcript of the courthouse by the sea.
Excerpt from the transcript of the trial at the courthouse by the sea. Cross-examination of Jonathan Mullis.
So this float ring that I'm holding here, you claim that you picked it up on the beach. Is that right?
Yes.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. I just did.
Were you afraid you might drown?
Laughter in the courtroom.
Objection! Sustained.
So on the afternoon of May 30th, the afternoon that Marcus Tumble disappeared, you claimed to have been taking a long walk. A 4-hour walk. Is that right?
Yes.
Were you in the habit of taking 4-hour walks in the middle of your workday?
No.
Have you ever taken such a walk?
No.
Did anyone see you?
It was a weekday afternoon.
You work at Mons Limited, shipping and transcription. Is that right? As a typist?
Yes.
How long has that been your employment?
3 weeks.
3 weeks, but you felt comfortable taking 4 hours off.
I needed to think about the world, about my place in the world.
So you took this long walk without telling anyone?
I meant to tell Mr. Clark, my supervisor, but I left a note saying that I wasn't feeling well.
And who did you give this note to?
Mr. Clark, my supervisor, but I found it later in my own pocket.
Menachep Herald, November 12th. Verdict announced. Swift justice. After deliberating for only 5 hours, the Jonathan Mullis jury announced a guilty verdict on the count of kidnapping, and guilty as well on the count of murder. There was a commotion in the first row when Mr. Mullis' fiancée began to wail so loudly that she had to be forcibly removed from the courtroom. But the murderer was never to spend 1 minute behind bars. In an extraordinary scene, 2 hours later, the boy's father and 3 armed men rushed the bailiff as they made their way from the courthouse by the sea to the transport. The assailants grabbed Mr. Mullis, pulled him into the ocean, and held his head under until he was still. A witness reported that this incident confirms Mr. Mullis' guilt, as he made not a move to free himself, allowed himself to be held under without a struggle. November 17th, body of a child found. On Wednesday, construction workers at the site of the Civic Theater uncovered the body of a child. Authorities have confirmed that Marcus Tumble was found beneath the trapdoors of the long-delayed theater. It's a 1 in a million tragedy, says construction supervisor Clifton Ailes. The theater was sealed for safety, but one of the lower windows had come unlatched. He must have climbed in. He appears to have peered into the still shallow trapdoor. When that heavy door fell shut, he wouldn't have had a chance. Manitowoc Herald, February 1st.
Los Angeles Times, February 2nd.
Time Magazine, February 7th.
The Oak Box is home to the most extraordinary spectacle ever witnessed by this community.
The long-awaited opening of the Manitowoc Civic Theater will long be remembered.
3 months after the discovery of the boy beneath the still under construction traps of the theater.
The tragedy known to every member of our town.
The opening of the theater was finally underway.
With the night drenched in a sudden squall, the capacity audience, staffed to umbrellas, shook off their coats, eager to put the past few events of the past few months behind them.
The audience watched, rapt, as Medea, casually played by Broadway actress Lenny Rasmussen, called her children to her breast one final time. But as Medea wailed her vengeance, Norma Pike, fiancée of the unfortunately accused Jonathan Mullis, entered the theater, dressed in all green.
Less a dress than a costume.
Dressed like the ocean.
She held aloft a glass.
Tall and green, full of liquid.
Held it high like a torch and proclaimed,
Welcome to this theater. Your theater.
most of the audience would later report that they believed her to be a part of the performance.
This ugly box of a theater will become famous, but not in the way you hoped. No one will ever think of this dank shell of oak without thinking of the 3 people who died because of it. The boy who had suffocated, the man murdered because of the boy, and the woman who cursed the building for all time by drowning herself in it.
Some looked away. The rest wished they had, as
She brought the glass to her mouth and tipped it back.
Poured it straight into her throat.
aspirated the entire contents of the glass.
Swallowed it without swallowing.
Her eyes bore into the audience until they went dark, and she fell dead to the floor.
In front of 700 people, Miss Pike drowned herself with the glass of seawater.
Page 71 of Haunted California by Naomi Sanderson. In the years since the triple tragedy, dozens of people, Moonlight Sweethearts, Schoolboy Daredevils, have looked up at the single Michael window and have seen a figure. Sometimes it's a boy, trapped, afraid. Others see the outline of a man, eyes closed, resigned. But on the rare occasions that storm watchers find themselves overtaken, drenched, the shade illuminated by the lightning flash is a woman. She holds a sea green goblet and smiles an invitation. Drink with me.
After the Oak Box incident, one of the things we wanted to know was, why Manitowoc? Why the Oak Box? My theory was that they might have chosen a place where there was some fright built in just by being in the building. Every single person in town knows the story of Norma Pike, but it's a local tragedy. On an impulse, really, I googled scary theaters. It's the top result. 4 terrifying theaters. Princess Theatre, Melbourne, Australia. Manila Film Centre, Pasay City, Philippines. Theatre Royale, Drury Lane, London. And then, there it is. 4th out of 4. The Oak Box, Manitowoc, California. I got chills because I realized that's how they found the Oak Box.
It was that Sunday morning, 18 hours after the incident at the Oak Box. 236 audience members and 5 members of the audience. On the ground. Breathing, thank God, but 2 mysteries. What happened to these people? That was the main question, of course. And second were the doors. How do we make sense of those doors?
Can you say your name, please?
I'm Avishai Lenzer. I'm the Chief Forensic Engineer with the California Department of Infrastructure.
Efren Salas. I'm a firefighter with Station 41, Manitowoc County.
My name is Isa Fuente. I'm a neurobiologist at UC Berkeley.
I was the first person in the theater that night. I saw the girl on stage. I'm the one who carried her out. Before I picked her up, she said the one thing we couldn't figure out. 4 words.
One of the first things I noticed about the bodies was the absence of what's called relative resonance. It's the tendency of people who know each other in tragic situations to cluster. After a fire, you'll find bodies of friends holding on to each other or a parent wrapped around a child. But the bodies at the oak box were different. People who weren't related sometimes fell on top of each other. People who loved each other in life sprawled in different directions.
Theater Camera 1.
What about this girl? Sarah West. She was almost in the door. Was she leaving early?
No, look at the way she fell. She was running.
And she's wearing earbuds. She wasn't paying attention to play.
Can you tell what she was listening to?
It's classical. Gymnopedy number 1.
Gymnopédie number 1 by Eric Satie.
Yeah.
Something else is strange. Heish? Something wrong?
I didn't know you knew my name.
Is there anything else that you noticed that's strange about the position of the bodies?
The programs. So many people are holding them.
That's what I noticed too.
Holding them like this, like they've been trying to read them up until the last second.
It was the speed that threw me. What could have overcome this many people so fast? Maybe an electrical impulse, or maybe some kind of gas had overcome them? We scoured the ventilation systems. There was nothing.
I was in the theater a lot. I wanted to spend time with them.
I said to the fireman, any thoughts on what could have overcome these people so fast?
How do you know it was fast?
Of course it was fast.
That's when they brought me in. Figuring out how long a body has been unconscious is actually not that hard to do if you have the right equipment. When a person loses consciousness, the body temperature drops by 2.5 degrees. But that takes a while. So we attached electrodes, microthermometers, to their foreheads. And what we found was a surprise, to say the least.
It didn't make any sense.
The first one to fall was Paul Schmidt in C813. 3 rows back was Anna Stroheim in D41. The first 26 people didn't lose consciousness all at the same time. They went down one by one.
I said, are you sure of this?
Theater Camera 1. Continuous.
I'm positive. If you look at the seating chart for the oak box, A13, D41, what do you notice?
Nothing.
Then F42.
So, front row, aisle, then the other side of the aisle?
Then we list Raji L19.
The back of row L is at the horizontal aisle in the middle. It started at the front and the back and the sides.
Exactly. It works that way until the 26th person, Franklin James.
I know Frank.
Whatever happened to them, it started at the edges and worked its way in like something cooking.
This doesn't seem like a natural phenomenon. This seems like attackers.
Agreed.
241 people fall unconscious one by one, like they got snuck up on. But that doesn't make sense because they could see every other person falling over. There's no... I don't see how humans could do this.
Meaning what?
I'm not sure.
Hey, can you guys shut up for a second? Did you hear that? There.
I don't hear anything.
There. I lived in Alaska till I was 10, so I have really good hearing. Your ears are always covered. It's like a chirp. Again, over there, the bodies are making a sound.
Which bodies?
All of them.
On Sunday morning, we had 2 mysteries. On Sunday afternoon, we had 3. What happened to these people? What were the sounds Efren was hearing? And again, those doors. Those people had 45 minutes to leave, and those doors were wide open. Officials are baffled today by a small California town.
In our top story tonight, a mystery with evento misterioso.
On Monday morning, we sent out footage. By that afternoon, we had messages from 5 different continents. The tips came flooding in. I gathered investigators from other counties to check out every single lead.
I got the slush pile. It was bigger than all the others combined, and it had more crazy than I knew was in the world.
I read a book once on intelligent monkeys. Stop it. That's for some
Are they using it all that they do? Someone just let this happen to me.
There must have been one board left.
Transfer of the call from Seattle, Washington to the Oak Box Hotline, October 7th, 7:32 p.m.
Oak Box Hotline.
Hello, my name is Marion J. I'm a professor at the University of Washington. What I'm about to say will sound crazy.
Uh-huh.
Is this a secure line?
Yes, why?
I'm about to tell you something, but you have to promise that you won't hang up on me.
I can't promise that.
You have a theater full of people who've fallen unconscious.
Yes.
By now, you've probably figured out that they were attacked one by one.
How do you know that?
I think you're dealing with something called Farinox.
Farinox. What are Farinox?
We'll start with what they're not, which is human.
Now I'm gonna hang up.
Are all of your victims still alive?
Yes.
They won't be if you hang up. You have less than a week until their hearts start to stop.
Farinox.
They're not human, but they look human.
Why haven't I heard of them?
Oh, hello? Hello, is there somebody there? Sorry. I thought I heard something. You haven't heard of Farinox because they don't want you to, and because the attacks are so rare. Farinox are like locusts. They attack every 16 years. There was an attack in Gulspec, Scotland in 2006. There was an attack in Iceland 16 years before that, and then 16, and then 16. This is swarming behavior. The creatures attack, mate, and then they all die. All but one. A caretaker who watches over the larvae while they grow, and what that means is that all Farinox are 16 years old, except for one.
Okay, thank you. I've made notes of your call and we'll get back to you if necessary.
There are an unusually high number of new students at Manachap High School this year.
Yes.
And at least one new teacher.
A theater teacher.
What happened to the old one?
She died.
Suddenly and with no apparent cause?
Yeah. Why wouldn't anyone else have heard of these things?
Oh!
What?
Nothing. My house must have blown a fuse. I can't see a thing. There are 4 of us trying to hunt Farinox. At the same time, the Farinox are hunting us. Of course, they have the advantage.
Which is what?
They know for sure that we exist.
Who were the other 3 people studying them?
There's a zoologist at Columbia named Keita Muguruza. There's an evolutionary biologist named Melissa Tange. And a professor at the University of Toronto. He studies fear. Who's there? Who's there?
Then I heard a click.
Call ends at 7:37.
I tried to call back, but it wouldn't go through. I sat in the call room thinking I had a choice to make. I could march into Sergeant Brock's office and say, I know this sounds crazy, but I think I might be onto something. Or I could move on to the next call. The thing is, even though it was ridiculous, I believed her. But I was new at work and I was already screwing up. I moved on to the next call.
At first, we didn't know what we were studying. Hunting. As it turned out, the key had already been discovered by a Bolivian named Keita Muguruza. She and her postdoc, Emilio Penti, had won the 2018 Nobel Prize in Biology for their work.
Estábamos estudiando algo que la gente había notado durante siglos.
We were studying something people had noticed for centuries.
Se llama el enigma de la viuda negra.
It's called the black widow conundrum. When an insect gets caught in a black widow's web, the spider doesn't attack right away. Instead, it follows a particular, almost ritualized pattern of movement. The struggling moth knows that something approaches. Slowly. The black widow moves herself into view. Large, black, shiny. The insect panics, jerking the web up and down. The spider lifts her forelegs, revealing a blood-red hourglass. Adrenaline flows from the moth into the web. The strands are drenched in the insect's terror. The widow bathes in it.
It's a brilliant evolutionary strategy, really, because it's a way to get nourishment from a different part of the animal. Every other predator on this planet gets nourishment from the meat of its prey, but these creatures subsist on the powerful chemicals secreted by animals who are terrified. They feed on fear.
A creature that feeds on fear has a different hunting strategy than one that feeds on flesh. If terror is what's saying to, then you have to create it. And so Farinox don't chase their prey, they trap it.
The Venus flytrap and the black widow are the 2 most famous types of Farinox. A plant, an insect, but then there was an evolutionary jump.
The idea that a species of Farinox might be capable of mimicking humans was so hard to get over that we had to take a step back and ask not how could this happen, but why would it? Why would it be worth it to prey on humans when there are thousands of other animals that are far easier to capture?
Evolution follows the prey. The juicier the prey, the more clever the trap.
sky alive, doesn't it? All of that worry helped keep us alive for 100,000 years. But when we emerged from the jungle, our capacity for fear didn't go away. It just repurposed itself. So now, instead of worrying about being eaten by a tiger, we worry about tomorrow's manifest.
All the anxiety we produce is useless to us. But from a Fahrenheit's point of view, it makes us the equivalent of a large, slow-moving steak.
From the obituary for Marion J., professor of neuroscience at the University of Washington. Professor J was well-liked and well-respected. Her unexpected passing has thrown a cloud over the campus. Professor J survived by her parents, Martin and Pamela J., and by her grandmother, Thelma Lampkin.
Interview with Kenosha Silverling Johnson, October 5th, 2021, 8:15 a.m. Second floor counseling office, Manitowoc School.
And do you know why we're having this conversation?
Because of yesterday?
Can you be more specific?
Because of what happened in the woods.
We're here because of what you told people happened in the woods.
It happened.
You talked to a lot of people yesterday. You told them all the same story.
Yes.
Is that story something you're sure is true, or is it possible you made some of it up?
It was all true.
So that's why we're here today, Kenosha. Because that story about what happened in the woods, that story couldn't possibly have happened.
Kenosha came out of the womb perfect, but when she was 3 weeks old, she had a seizure. We were afraid we'd lose her. You could tell right away that something had changed.
So, I remember Kenosha's first day at Manitowoc because she'd gone to the audition board and only the string with the pencil was broken, so there was no way to put your name on it. So, I gone up to her and I said, if you want an audition, I've got a pen, and she said, my name is Kenosha R. Silverling Johnson.
So the joke very quickly went around. I don't know who said it first, that the R.
The R.
The R. The R was to distinguish herself.
To distinguish herself from all other Kenosha Silverling.
The kids at our old school could be so mean. Manitowoc was supposed to be a fresh start.
Thinking back, it was a bad start because you always had that in your head. You had like a little bit of distance.
Kenosha had all the normal emotions, grief and happiness and nervousness, but they weren't wired right. Like she grimaced to say, I love you. She spent her whole life studying people's expressions, and she got quite good at showing the right emotion. But she was active. It was like she was doing it all memory. But there was one she could never manage, and that was to lie. There was too much going on. What do you do with your hands? Do your eyes look up or down? She couldn't calibrate the information.
She told me she could go to homecoming with me because her uncle was an astronaut. I wasn't actually going to ask her, but it still made me feel bad.
I'd give her lessons. I'd say, the situation is, you're 2 hours late, I've been trying to reach you, I'm frantic and I'm angry, go. She'd go blank. Now you tell me that your phone ran out of juice. And she was awful. I'd say, Kenosha, you have got to master this, or you're going to have the most boring teenage years of anybody on earth. The benches, and it really was an accident. You know those lunch tables, they're long with these really long benches? And Kenosha was sitting all alone. So I came up on the other side and asked her if anyone was sitting with her. And she said no. So I picked up the bench and moved into our table so we could fit more people. Of course, long term, it actually ended up working in her favor, because while she was alone was when Clifton went over to her.
Clifton? Oh, where to start?
Clifton's kind of perfect. I think that he's really, really nice.
Kind. So sweet. We don't have, like, homecoming queens or kings or any sort of prom royalty. But if we did, he'd be both kings.
He just walked over and asked if he could sit with her.
There was one thing, actually. When I saw her for the first time, her phone rang, and she didn't even look to see who it was. But she made herself smile when she answered the phone. I could hear it in her voice. Next thing you know, I look over. They're in the cafeteria, and she's making him laugh. A lot of times she was hilarious on purpose, but not always. Once I laughed so hard, his head literally hit the table. Once she said to me, I like you more than water.
You'd see them everywhere together. He'd laugh and put his arm around her neck.
I couldn't tell if it was romantic or not.
So, it's barely a week into school, and there's the new girl, sitting in front of the audition board, with only string with a pencil was broken.
I'd wanted to be in a play,
So I did some research, and I found the best book about acting, which is Utah Hagen's Respect for Acting. And it's pretty famous, and it's great. You should read it if you're interested in acting at all.
We had discussed the idea of Kenosha being involved in theater because I thought she would be quite good. She was so good at mimicking emotion. I said, well, sweetheart, go for it.
Kenosha. That story that you told so many people. It made some of those people anxious. It scared them.
Did they cancel the play?
No.
It didn't scare them enough.
Why do you want the play canceled?
Something bad is going to happen.
What's going to happen? Can you tell me that?
It was really early for the fall play to be happening, so we just went with it. We assumed it had something to do with the pendulum tragedy.
Marge Pendulum was one of my best teachers. Such a shock. 2 days before school started, just bam, dropped dead because of a heart attack. She was 38, didn't smoke, exercised. You know how that just happens sometimes.
She comes home the day of the audition and she bursts in the door. I say, how did it go? She says, I nailed it.
I saw her audition. She was really good, but I told her, you never know.
The next day she calls me from school and she's talking very fast. She says, I didn't get a part. I said, well, you know, sweetheart, sometimes that happens. We don't get everything we expect. She says, but I was the best one. Even then, there could be all sorts of reasons. She says no. Something's up.
The casting was pretty strange.
We're all looking at the list like, why don't I know these names?
Almost every name on the list was new. Practically every kid who got a part was new that year.
When Kenosha would get too excited, she'd lose her skill at imitating emotions. So I started to hear a, and she hung up. I was afraid something might happen.
We were at the first cast meeting, and I was there to see if I could volunteer for tech. Kenosha comes marching in, and she starts to make some sort of announcement. And then she didn't. She starts to make beeping noises.
That was a panic attack.
She fell hard down on one knee. She can't breathe. She actually crawled out of the room.
A person who tells a story over and over, it gets a performance aspect to it. They subconsciously know what things are getting a reaction, and the more they tell the story, the more they lean into those aspects of it. This story doesn't get so much memorized as etched.
She said, I'm going to tell you a story. Please just listen. She said, please just listen.
Please just listen. Yesterday I made it out of the woods, but I hit my left knee.
My left knee, right here, so I couldn't move it fast.
I was allowed to walk home the highway as long as I faced the traffic. I looked behind me and all of a sudden there were these 3 people way back, and I knew I had to get away from them.
There's this big strip of forest between the highway and the Walmart, but before I jumped into it, I looked again and they were way closer. The forest steep, but I cut through it all the time.
The forest steep, but I cut through all the time. So I knew I have an advantage. But when I looked back, I got so scared.
When I looked back, I got so scared because they turned in right after me. They wanted me in the forest, and they were fast.
All of a sudden, I heard the sound, crazy loud.
The loudest thing I'd ever heard.
Ever heard.
Ever. I can't tell where it's coming from. I'm shaking.
I ran faster than I could see.
I looked back once, and what I saw is what scared me more than anything ever.
One by one, their eyes lit up.
Which
I know sounds crazy.
I could hear music ahead of me. I remember there was a carnival, a mini carnival for kids in the Walmart parking lot. Just some bumper cars and a tilt-a-whirl. I could hear the 7-year-olds scream as they went down the dip of the kiddie coaster.
All of a sudden, I knew that I needed to get to them, but when I looked again, there weren't these very little eyes. There were 2.
Where's the other one?
And I know I have to choose. Do I try and make it to the parking lot carnival, or do I head in the forest? I know I'm close, but for some reason this scares the idea that I just almost made it. And I'm just a few feet away from safety. And after 30 minutes away from him, and he grabs me in his arms. And I can't go forward. People don't naturally look up because you got no predators through there. So I start climbing the tree.
I started climbing a live oak.
A live oak, and halfway up, I freeze. The 2 of them get to me, and then the 3rd one does. They don't see me, even though they let me down with their eyes.
They start to argue.
They have an argument about whose fault it was, and 2 of them grab the 3rd, and he starts to scream, "Please, no!" They hold his head, and one of them says something in his ear. He whispers it, but I hear it completely clear. After he whispers it, the 3rd one starts crying, and he falls over dead onto the whispered tree. What he whispers is, "Can I tell you a secret?"
Kenosha! Can you concentrate just a little longer? You said their eyes lit up. Could those have been flashlights?
No, I know the difference.
Have you ever heard of anybody whose eyes have lit up?
No.
So is it possible you imagined it? If what you said happened in the woods, there should have been 4 sets of footprints, right? But they only found yours.
They must have erased them.
The police followed the tracks to a tree, just like you said. But there was no body.
They moved it.
And what about the sound? The sound that they were making that seemed like it was coming from everywhere.
It was a foghorn.
There are no foghorns within 200 miles.
It was a foghorn.
Foghorns are an example of a phenomenon called duotones, sounds that mean different things in different contexts. In the distance, a foghorn is comforting. It tells you you're safe. But if you hear it loud, it's terrifying. You're too close. It's too late.
After the story in the woods, Kenosha started acting strange, like she wouldn't go to the South Wing, where the theater is. Wouldn't go at all. I'd say, Kenosha, you're putting your whole chem grade in jeopardy. But she will not go anywhere near that theater.
She started to talk back about the play. One time she pulled me aside and said, "This play is like a malady." I had no idea what she meant.
She told me the play was like Sick Dog, only scarier.
It's amazing.
It would leave a greenish taste in my mouth.
It's amazing she had time to go to class. She talked with over a quarter of the school.
She pulled me aside and said, "I don't think we should go to the play."
She had a movie night.
She said, please, please, please don't go to the play. I said, Kenosha, I'm in the play.
She was so afraid to go to the play, but of course she ended up going. She thought she could save those people. My brain is an anchor right here. It weighs my thoughts down. It's hard to see through it.
Please, I like you more than water.
She told everyone she met that the play was going to end in horror. I knew she couldn't lie, and I still didn't believe her.
Email from Mary dated Gwendolyn H. October 4th. 3 days before Mary and Jay was found dead in her study.
Farinox are perfect replicas of people. These things pass for human everywhere. They mimic our emotions. And the only person who has ever been able to detect a Farinox was somebody who was mimicking emotions herself. It was the girl who disappeared, Kenosha.
Email from Mary and Jay to Gwendolyn H. October 5th. 2 days before Mary and Jay's death.
Miss H, please respond to me. When Farinox attack, it's 99.9% fatal, like rabies. Once you're attacked, you have up to 2 weeks until your heart starts to stop, but it's going to stop. In the whole history of time, this has been happening. There's only ever been one survivor.
I was still working the slush pile. There was only one person who knew what happened in that theater, and if I wanted to talk to her, I was going to need an angle. I walked into Sergeant Brock's office without knocking and said, "Let me talk to the girl."
I said the girl's useless.
She said forwards to that fireman, which doesn't make sense.
She wanted out of there.
What if what she said was 4 words? She was trying to tell him about something that someone said. Let me talk to the girl. I can get those 4 words.
With all those bodies in the theater, it felt heavy and warm, like a greenhouse. It was 241 bodies, but they put IV tubes in all of them, so the IV bags were up here. And that's what you noticed at first. It was actually kind of beautiful because the theater was dark and those bags glowed.
He came to me and said, I want to take some time off.
And she said, "I'm sorry, I need all hands on deck right now."
And Efren said, and he choked up. He said, I know those people. I love those people.
I wanted to help out in the theater, see if I could figure out what those noises were that the bodies were making. She said, "Nobody can hear those noises except you."
And he said, that's why they need me.
Manitoba Psychiatric Facility, stabilization report. October 21st, 9:30.
Angela, may I come in? I'll stay over here. My name is Gwendolyn H, and I'm one of the people who's trying to figure out what happened in that theater. Does that security camera bother you? It shouldn't. There's nobody watching you. The camera's just there in case if something went wrong, which it won't. Then they could look at it later to see what happened. I feel like I know you. Everybody I've talked to, everybody, when I mention your name, their whole voice bubbles up. They talk about your soccer and your sense of humor and that CPR class you organized. Right now, a lot of people need your help. Whatever went wrong at the Oak Box is still going on. I have this theory about what you said to the fireman. He heard Fords, but I think what you said was 4 words. Can you tell me which of those it was? I have something I want to ask you.
Get away from me!
I'm sorry!
Get away!
I'm sorry!
Help! Help me!
Theater Camera 1, October 25th, 2:45 a.m.
Anyway, Emily, I'll be back to check on you soon. Miss Mel, this is Efren Salas. I was in your 8th grade trigonometry class 14 years ago. I'm here to make sure you're safe and comfortable, but that's not all. I know you can hear me, and I think you're making those sounds, you and everyone else in this theater. If you can make any sound, I'll hear you. I have great hearing. Try it for me. The year I was in your math class was the year those midterms got stolen off your desk before you had time to grade them. Make a noise if you remember that. For me, it's a nice memory because I was one of 6 kids who had that period free. But instead of making me a suspect, you deputized me. I was new to school and nervous, and I never told you what that meant to me, to be trusted like that. The whole experience shaped who I wanted to be. It's part of the reason I fight fires. So, I wanted to tell you, I did steal those tests. Hey!
Quiet.
She made the sound. Do it again, just one more time.
Somebody might hear you.
They can hear us.
Thank you for seeing me again.
Answer every question you pause for, then a second I kick you out. What's a book you read in high school English?
Hamlet.
In 15 seconds, tell me your life.
Born and raised in Indiana, wanted to be an artist, so I moved to New York City. It didn't work out, but I met my husband. We moved here so I could pursue law enforcement. My daughter from 3rd grade.
6 times 8.
48.
What are you most afraid of?
Millipedes.
What's the secret?
What secret?
Tell me the
I
secret.
don't know
or
what you're
I'll kick
talking
you
about!
It was 4 words.
4 words. 4 words that someone in the theater that night said. Yes?
Yes.
What were they? You don't even have to say them. You could write them or whisper them as soft as you want.
I'm too scared.
There's nothing here that can hurt you. Who said the words, male or female?
Female.
Adult or student?
An adult.
What were the words?
I'll tell you next time.
Tell me the first one. Give me just the first word.
The.
The. First word is the. Thank you.
Theater Camera 3.
There are scientists in Guangzhou, China, who have this therapy that seemed to work in coma patients. It's a machine that makes sound waves, and it's so huge they had to put it in a cargo plane, and it's already flying across the Pacific. And there's a group in Cape Town that are sending some kind of drops that'll go in your eye to stimulate brain function. And all over the earth, in all different ways, people are praying for you.
Efren,
Captain Donovan,
I've got bad news. The EEG results came back. None of the bodies show brain function.
no brain function that they can measure.
It would register.
You're not a scientist. What if whatever happened to them hides the brain waves?
It's not possible.
This isn't possible.
They're breathing, but they're just dead.
Then why are they making those noises?
No one hears those noises but you.
Because I have great hearing.
Or because you want to hear them.
I hear them!
Never shout at me.
I'm sorry.
It's not good for you to be here so much.
It gives me strength.
When's the last time you slept?
I don't need sleep. You're sleeping for me.
That doesn't make any sense. I don't want to lose you too.
Okay then. I'll sleep.
Angela, it's me again. I brought a keyboard. I hear you're good. And I brought sheet music if you feel like playing. I'm gonna set this here. I would love to hear you play, but to do that I'm going to have to get close to you. If that's okay with you. I'm going to reach one hand back here. And I'm going to there. You alright? Are you too achy to play something? How about this?
Pity Number 1 by Eric Satie. It's famous for being calming, soothing. In Europe, parents play it to calm their children.
Beautiful. Whenever you're ready, what's the second word? Plays. The plays. What's the third word? Let the music calm you down.
Not.
Theaters, Camera 4 and 6, October 14th, 4 o'clock p.m.
Captain Donovan, I figured it out. I know what's going on.
I'm here to escort you out.
No,
Yes, Efren.
I figured it out.
We're worried about you.
Haven't you ever had that dream? Something scary is coming towards you and you can't move and you can't make a sound, except these little squeaks people outside the dream can hear. They're trying to scream their way out of there.
Efren, you know I like you. I think you respect me.
I do.
You are not in your right mind.
I'm fine.
I disagree and I'm ordering you to come with me.
They need me here.
There's no they there anymore.
I can hear them.
The debate now is when to take them off life support.
No!
The doctors made this decision.
They got it wrong.
I need you to come with me,
Or what?
or you're fired.
I don't care about that.
No department in the country will hire you.
I'll change careers.
I am 2 seconds from dragging you out.
You're not big enough.
I brought deputies.
I'll slip between the bags.
Get out of this theater right now!
No.
Guys,
There are still people in those bodies! Listen to me. If you can hear me, I need you to know something. I need you to know that you are loved. This town loves you, and God loves you, and I love you. I will not let anything happen to you, but please help me. If you can, if there's anything you can do to reach back to me, I need you to do it right now. Give me 1% and I'll reach you the other 99.
let's go, Efren.
Shh. You hear it?
I heard it.
I do too.
I hear it too. They're in there. We'll find a way to get them out.
We've been over this already.
Something protected you.
I don't know what.
What was different about that day?
Nothing.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
And the play. You can't remember anything other than those 4 words. The play is not over.
I can tell you, it's all blank.
Angela, the people in the theater are running out of time. I need a favor.
What?
When you get out of here tomorrow, I want you to come with me to the theater.
No.
I'll be right with you.
I can't.
My guess is when you walk in there, you're gonna remember what happened. Let's go through the performance thing one more time.
It's a typical Friday. Math, biology, English, social studies, PE, Toastmasters.
Which you said is after school at the Y.
Yeah.
Are you a good speaker?
No, that's why I'm in Toastmasters. Half the time I can't even remember the speech because my head gets a light in my chest. Oh,
What?
it was my day to speak. My dad's an internist. He gave me a pill, Inderol. It keeps the adrenaline from taking over so I can breathe more.
You took a pill that blocks adrenaline.
No, I took 3.
Theater isn't trash enough. Scary movies make us wince, even though we know there's some way anything can jump out at that screen and hurt us. If anything, it's theater that should be scary.
The attack is so simple. The Pharaoh says, "Can I tell you a secret?" The victim says yes, and that's a mistake because they think of all the scary things that the secret could be. The Pharaoh whispers something. A tiny extension of one of their incisors punctures the ear, drains every bit of adrenaline from their body, and they fall unconscious. These things frighten me. I study them, but I study them at a distance. They're right at the border between the monsters who we pretend scare us and the people that actually do.
Theater cameras 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. Final recording.
You can do this.
Who's there?
It's us, Detective Haitian. You remember Angela? You carried her out of here.
Yes. Hello. Are you all right?
No.
Being here takes time to get used to.
I know almost every face.
You can help them. If you can remember what happened, that can make the difference.
Are they still alive?
We're giving them water and nutrients, but soon that's not going to be enough.
Could you leave us alone for just a bit?
I'll be in back. There's others back there if you need us.
Do you remember where you were sitting?
Right where I am now.
I want you to think about the days leading up to the play. There were posters all over the school.
Yeah, they said don't tell the secret. And then they changed and said, they tell you the secret.
Good. Then the last week, the posters changed again. They added the title of the play. Do you remember that?
No,
You don't know the title of the play.
I don't.
It might help to get up on stage.
No.
Just come up here with me. You made a phone call from up here. Do you remember it?
I don't.
What's the last thing you remember about that night?
I was running into the parking lot. I was late because of Toastmasters, but it turned out I didn't have to worry after all because there was some sort of electrical issue keeping us all in the lobby.
Angela, come up here. I won't let anything happen to you. This is where they found you. Take a deep breath. Now lower your head and close your eyes. On the count of 3, lift your head and open your eyes. 1, 2, 3.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm not sure.
Is it life-threatening?
Yes?
Are you safe right now?
No?
I'm sending someone. More than one. There's cars already on the way. What's your name, Chica?
Angela.
Angela?
Angela, I'm sending them to the Oak Box. Is that right?
Yes.
There's a play night. The high school's doing a play. Is that where you are?
Yes.
In the theater.
Yes.
And somebody's hurt?
Everybody.
Who's that again? Where are you in the theater?
I'm just standing on the stage.
Take a very, very deep breath. Hold it.
Angela, what are you thinking about?
The end. Calling for help, knowing it was too late.
I want you to look at something. This is a program from that night. That's the title of the play.
Trap. What's wrong? It was right in front of us.
What was?
The play was a trap, and it was even called Trap. The play was split into sections. 1, a picture of infinity. 2, the Oak Box. 3, what held us? What held us? Something had happened in a theater at a high school play. Everyone had fallen over, unconscious.
But what happened in the play? What was the story about?
That is what it was about.
In the play you were watching, people had fallen over unconscious in the theater.
Yeah, it was mostly interviews, like a documentary. Everyone had fallen over, except one girl.
And in the play, what had happened to them?
There was these creatures. They looked like humans, but they weren't. They were called paradox. They attacked the audience one by one, and then all at once.
That's what happened in the play. What happened in real life to the people you were with?
The same thing.
No, what made the audience you were with fall unconscious?
Those creatures, they looked like humans, but they weren't. They were like black widows. They fed on fear.
Those are things in a play. They're not real.
Yes, they are.
I promise they're not.
They confused people. The play was about things that were going to happen to us. When it started, we didn't know what was real and what wasn't.
Creatures who feed on fear and put on plays, it's ridiculous.
Sounding ridiculous is how they hide.
Even if those things were real, they're not here now. Take a very, very deep breath. Hold it.
Stay away from me!
What's wrong?
Who's here? Who's in the theater?
Are you alright?
I think we're okay.
Should we leave?
No, I just got a little freaked out.
This place can do that. Do you want me to stay?
Please, for a little bit.
Tell me more about the creatures.
In the final section of the play, which was also called Trap, the Fahrenheit started to attack.
Attack the audience.
Yeah.
How did they do that?
One of the girls in the story, she went down into the audience and she was narrating what she was doing. She stopped in front of a girl and she asked a question. Can I tell you a secret? She leaned down and whispered something. The girl fell over out of the chair. But the audience didn't think anything of it because if you check the program, she was listed as fallen girl. She then went a few rows up and did the same thing. Can I tell you a secret? When the boy nodded, she leaned down and...
There was something we couldn't understand at first. If a Fahrenheit attack depended on anxiety, why were these people falling over? They didn't think it was real, so they should have been safe. What those people were worried about wasn't that. It was that one of the actors would whisper in the ear, and they wouldn't know what to do. They had stage fright, which as it turned out was just as fatal as fear of death.
By the time she got to me, I was scared, but when she whispered, nothing happened.
You'd taken the Inderall.
Yeah.
How many people had fallen over by then?
A lot.
Why wouldn't somebody have left?
They thought it was just a play. Earlier, someone's cell phone had gone off, but you check the program. It says, cell phone guy. Can I tell you a secret?
Stop! Stop the play!
Please stop.
My name is Kenosha R. Silverling Johnson. Everybody listen up. In a calm and orderly manner, leave the theater. You have to leave the theater for your own safety. There's a small child trapped in the car in the parking lot, so you'll all have to check to make sure it's not yours.
We're slaughtering the entire world.
Please leave.
They think you're part of the fight.
You're the one playing me. Yes? You're not human.
What am I then?
A Pharaoh. You're human, and you are. Stay away from them! Now will you leave?
They think you're part of the fight. Because you are part of the fight.
No, I'm not.
Then why are you in the program?
I'm not.
Yes, you are. Right there. It says real Kenosha.
That's not real.
There's part of the play where you get chased in the woods.
You made up a part of the play in case I came back during the attack.
That's part of the script.
There is no script.
Right here.
That's not real. This is a trap.
It's a high school play.
The perfect trap. Everybody has to come and nobody's allowed to leave. They feed on anxiety. You've only lost a few so far, but that'll change fast. The lights will go out, they'll hear a crazy loud noise, and their eyes will light up as they start to feed.
There's nothing you can do that will get them out of their chairs.
I don't have to get them out of their chairs. I just need to get rid of you.
Good luck.
I've been hiding in the theater this whole time, preparing a surprise.
What's the surprise?
If I told you what it is,
Everybody listen up. They're feeding on your stress. So smile, relax yourself from the outside in. Take a huge breath, do it, and relax. I promise you will not be called on as part of this performance. What's wrong with you?
Nothing.
Why are you wilting?
We're acting. Stop. I want to tell you a secret.
No.
If you let me tell you the secret, I'll wake up the rest of the audience.
How?
I can do it.
I don't believe you.
Your only chance to save them is to believe me. Can I tell you a secret?
Stop smiling. Go ahead.
Can I tell you a secret? Can I tell you a secret? Can I tell you a secret?
Can I tell you a secret? I took 4 Inderall. Surprise!
Too bad. Lost your remote, and everyone else there still thinks this is a play.
Everyone but one. Mom!
I'm here, sweetheart!
Now! That was the sound I heard that night. The sound of all those people being freed. The best scream you can imagine.
25 days after the events in the Oak Box began, it came to an end.
My name is Angela Lerner, and I survived the Menachop Baranoff attack.
My name's Clifton Barnes, and I survived being in the play.
Mara, I'm alive because Kenosha R. Silverwing Johnson.
Kenosha saved my life.
My whole family was in the theater that night.
Thank you, Kenosha.
Thank you. We love you, Kenosha.
The people who've been unconscious have no memory of what happened. But it changed them. I published 3 papers.
I got a medal.
I got a promotion. I got a parade.
I got Kenosha.
For a few weeks last year, the town of Manitowoc, California became famous, but that fame faded fast. What had happened seemed impossible. Psychiatrists wrote it off as mass hysteria. People getting scared in a place that already scared them.
I lived through the events and even I'm not sure. Did it really happen, or was it like that I and the people? The most scared I've ever been, and it was just me scaring me.
Settle in, everyone. I've got bad
running a few minutes late. We're having a problem with the lights.
The prey is most vulnerable when it thinks it's escaped.
The spider's not home. The whip almost breaks.
I'm almost out of the woods.
It was just me scaring me.
Recursion, a high school play about a high school play. An audience being attacked while watching a play about an audience being attacked.
You say to an audience, you're going to die. And they'll stay in their seats because they don't want to miss it.
All Faranox are 16 years old.
Except one.
People are naturally scared of the dark.
Can I tell you a secret?
Can I tell you a secret?
Can I tell you a secret?
In the distance, a foghorn tells you you're safe. But if you hear it loud, you're too close.
Can I tell you a secret?
It's too late.
Yes.